Hi, I'm Becky Meagher, and welcome to Transitions, Body, Mind, Spirit. Transitions. We go through so many transitions in our life. Maybe when you're a 5-year-old, you want to be a fireman, or you want to be a nurse, and then you get older, and then you think, oh, I'll do something else for a living. And there's so many ways that we change our lives. And I know I'd like to use the metaphor of triathlon, something I've been doing for 25 years. And in a triathlon, the first thing you do is swim. And then you get in the transition area and get on your bicycle. And then you bike, and then you transition again to go ahead and run. And that's a great metaphor for all the different things in our lives that we planned for, we didn't, how we took charge of something that we didn't expect. And I have an amazing guest. We're going to do 2 shows. There's so much in his life, it's hard to pack it all in one. And Pat Whelan is my guest. Pat Whelan, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
I'm excited to be here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Pat is an amazing person in that, really, he came from, well, nothing practically. I mean, he was the first one to get a college degree in his family. And he ended up through a process of owning several different multi-million-dollar companies, commercial, what do we call it? The commercial contracting business?
Yes. General contracting.
General contracting.
Mm-hmm.
And he did incredibly well. And then he sold that and also ended up starting another company, a software company for building, and so that, and now he owns a plantation, a farm. So an amazing life, and we're going to dig down in here and find out more. So welcome again.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
So you were born right here in Tennessee, right?
I was born in Nashville and raised in Bellevue.
Bellevue, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you were a little kid, did you have any idea, hey, I want to be a builder, or what did you want to be?
Pro basketball player. Yeah. And my dad was handicapped, and so sports were a big challenge for him to be able to do and master.
Oh.
And so he was just constantly trying to, and he did very well at it with a bad leg, and so we would always be playing sports.
With your dad?
With my dad.
Even though he's handicapped?
Yeah, he had polio as a boy, and had a bad leg because of it. But if you saw him, you might not know it. He had a little limp that you would notice, but if he didn't have pants on, you would definitely know, because one leg was real small, no muscle.
Oh, wow.
In it, but he always was playing sports with us. And we played in organized sports, my brother and I, from 6 years old all the way up, as long as we could.
You were doing tackle football as a 6-year-old.
That was normal back then. It was me and every other kid I knew was doing that back then. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
So it was just normal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Wow. So there you are in Bellevue High School, and I think you took a shop class.
Oh yeah, I took all the agricultural classes, I took all the mechanical drawing classes, all the trade classes they had, anything I could take to avoid real classes. I took.
Like calculus or algebra?
That's right. I needed to be moving. The ag class was great because we'd go outside and do things outside, and it wasn't formal classroom stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
that was best for me. I didn't read very well. Could not pay attention well enough to read. It's funny, today would be a teacher would get fired, but when I was in school, when I was very young, I didn't disrupt anybody. I just didn't pay attention. And the teacher would call on me. I remember one time she asked me, she said, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'm in the 3rd grade. I don't know what's wrong with me." So I don't know what's wrong with me. And her solution was to move me up right in my desk, touched her desk in the front. And
wow.
She thought that would help me pay attention more. What it really made me do was pay more attention to her. I didn't realize she smelled good and she looks pretty good this close. And I didn't know what that meant at that age, but it did not help me pay attention anymore.
Oh, wow.
You know,
Wow.
They used to just say that, what's wrong with you? And it's like, I don't know.
Wow. Well, you said that you did sports as a little kid, and then in high school, you kind of didn't like the coaches yelling at you, right? That kind of.
I was not built for that.
Yeah.
Yes, my dad, as I grew up, never ever heard him raise his voice to me or anyone else. He never said a cuss word. He was firm. Yes was yes, no was no. He was composed. He was to himself. He was not a talker. And my mom was the social one, not my dad. And so that was what was modeled to me. And when I got into high school sports, it just was, back then everything was so different than now. Just taking salt tablets, not drinking water.
That was the bad thing.
You were weak.
Back then. Yes.
Yeah, and
Yes.
and the coaches would get very animated and curse and yell and scream.
And that just didn't work for you.
It didn't work for me.
Yes.
It just made me mad.
Well, we know that you did finish high school, and the plan was to go to college.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe you went to Middle Tennessee State University for 1 year.
2 years.
2 years. Okay, 2 years.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't really working for you or them, so you left there, right? Yeah. And then somehow or other you got to Texas, but you tell us that story.
Yeah, I didn't know why I was going to college. I was going to college because my mom really wanted me to go to college.
Okay.
I would be the first one in the family to do that. It was that dream of American upward mobility.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be better than us, and we didn't get to do that, and you are. My dad was a factory worker, made very little money, and so I went to college to please Mom. I didn't have a degree in mind. When I got there, I realized I could play sports if I kept a 2.0 GPA.
That's what you really wanted, sports.
And so that was what I did. I joined a fraternity. That was so much fun. And played the sports through that all the way through, keeping a 2.0. And then I got in a little trouble from partying a little too vigorously. And they kicked me out of Murfreesboro. I quickly applied to the University of Tennessee and was accepted there, and so just transitioned without missing any time from one right over to the other. I was at UT for almost a full year. I was in the spring, last quarter. We were on quarters at that point, and earlier I had done a job where Willie Nelson saw what I was doing
Willie Nelson saw what you were doing in Nashville?
Yes.
Okay.
I was working for Harvey Freeman on Belmead Boulevard, remodeling a house that he had bought. And I worked with an old man who was a carpenter. And I was his helper as a trim carpenter. And we went and got James K. Polk's library and disassembled it and brought it to Nashville and reassembled it in this house. There was a master spiral staircase. It was just a beautiful, large home there on Belmead Boulevard. And as we were finishing that up, a man came walking in, looked at it, and said he had a music studio over 100 Oaks. And with me, and I had a friend. Me and him did everything together, and he was way better carpenter than me, and I kind of latched on to him. He drugged me along, and the guy said, would you come to redo my studio in 100 Oaks? And so we had no idea who this person was. We said yes. It was just a little bitty dumpy studio, like so many studios in Nashville that you don't really know. But this guy turned out, his name was Chip Smolman.
Oh, he's a producer, right?
Oh, he was a big time producer.
Yeah.
For Elvis,
Wow.
He had written lots of songs for Willie. He had produced the Looking Back Texas album with Whelan Jennings. And so, but you never would have known that from how wealthy or how
Just
successful.
a regular guy.
Yeah, he drove old stuff and dressed.
So get us on to Willie here.
Oh,
okay.
Well, so we did that studio, and as
Yes.
we were finishing that up, Willie came in with him
Into the studio.
to look at what we had done.
Uh-huh.
And so Willie said, hey, y'all want to come to Austin, Texas? And I bought a country club. He literally bought golf course, country club, all the houses around it, all those things, and it was overlooking Lake Travis and the hill country right outside of Austin, Dripping Springs. And you want to come build a music studio? Sure. Well, that was in the summer, and so didn't hear anything, so I went to UT. And in the spring, I got a call, hey, come on to Texas, they're ready for you.
And you were in school, though.
I was in school, and it was like, well, I'll be finished in a few weeks. It's like, no, we want you here Monday. And this was on like a Wednesday or something. And so I called Dad and said, hey, Dad, I'm going to quit school. I'm going to go to work for Willie Nelson. He thought I was drunk. And, what's wrong with you? What are you
Willie
on?
Nelson.
What are you on now? What are you doing? And when he realized I was serious, he told me, he said, well, son, if you do that, I've paid for your college to this point. I've helped you get to here. It's a terrible decision. We want you to finish college, and so you're going to be off my payroll because you'll be a grown man making grown man decisions. Never had been off Dad's payroll, so that didn't mean anything to me. So I said, okay, appreciate that, Dad, I'm going. And I took off to Texas. I'd never been anywhere in my life. Our vacations were Daytona Beach and back.
Right.
That's all I'd ever seen in my life of the world.
So you will get to Willie and the sex, rock and roll, and everything. Naked ladies in the pool, and
it was, yes.
And that was a 20-year-old's dream, right? Oh my heavens!
It really was. The things that you want at that age are, not sustainable long term unless you want to go to jail or something.
Right.
But yeah, we got there, and it was a beautiful, beautiful place. Large Olympic-sized pool, full kitchen, because it was a country club, dining room, and everything.
Yeah.
Had a full workout place, sauna rooms, and all these things.
Fantastic.
He reached into the drawer and pitched a key over and said, that key will fit one of these houses on the golf course, or condominiums. They were condominiums, and when it does, that's where you'll live.
Yeah.
The maid comes on this day. If you have your laundry out on the porch on this day, we pick that up. Here's a key to a car or a truck that's out there in the park. I don't know what it fits, because there was so much stuff there.
Whoa.
And
you
so,
were probably like, oh my heavens, I'm in heaven.
Well, then he said, I don't endorse any products, but I always have Lone Star beer on the stage with me, and they stocked a walk-in cooler full of beer. So you have all the beer you want. They come restock it, whatever's used, it's free.
Wow.
Do you smoke pot? Sure.
Yeah,
Well, here's
finished.
some of that.
Yep.
And so I'm thinking, okay, there's naked women at the pool, free house, free beer, free pot. I've died and gone to heaven. This is great. Yeah, and so.
So we need to continue on here, because what ended up, you were there for 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
and then you had an accident.
I did.
And it was your hand, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was a saw that could have ended your life, right?
Well, yeah, if I hadn't cut it off, I cut an artery clean in two. But, Willie got caught in his tax event back whatever year that was, I don't remember. And so they said, hey, the work has stopped. Mm-hmm. We're going to start back up. We're going to go to Arizona, build some movie sets. So just find something to do in that interim. And so I did, and I was building a deck around an Olympic-sized pool, and a saw ran over my arm and cut me pretty badly.
Yeah.
And when I woke up, they told me you can't work again for at least a year.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah. So what ended up is that because of that, you did return back to Nashville. Am I right?
Well, no, I had been dating a lady while I was down there.
Okay.
So we ran off to El Paso, Texas, got married, came back to Knoxville, Tennessee, where she was going to work. It would take me 2 years to graduate because I didn't have enough credits towards any degree. So it was like I took a lot of classes, but nothing that amounted to much. And so she was going to work while I finished school, and then we were going to go back to Texas. And when I got away from that life and back into school and something more normal, that marriage didn't last.
Didn't last,
Yeah,
okay.
it lasted about not quite a year of that. And so I couldn't support myself anymore.
And you had a little homeless time then?
I did. I was homeless for a little over a year. And it gets really cold in Knoxville, Tennessee.
You were just kind of in an abandoned home and kind of took over and ended up talking to the guy, hey, give me free rent and I'll fix it up. And which you did some.
Yes.
But let's fast forward here. So here we are, and you're finishing UT, and then then what happened?
Well, while I was homeless, I met another lady, and we.
And she had a 3-year-old.
She had a 3-year-old, and we hit it off and got along well, and I got her pregnant, and we got married, and decided we would start a life together. I graduated from UT with a degree in economics.
Economics, okay.
Yeah, don't know why, but that's what I got a degree in. And then I had a job offer in Texas before I graduated. And the job offer was to be a superintendent on a commercial construction site, building a Kentucky Fried Chicken. And so I found out that we were pregnant, and so we got married. I got married. I found out on Wednesday. We got married on Saturday. I was working a little bit on the side, doing some odd things, and we stayed at a Howard Johnson's on Sunday night, and I went back to work on Monday until I got my diploma, and we took off in a box truck to Texas. And I went down there, and I only stayed down there that time long enough to finish the job I started.
Okay.
And,
all right. Well, we got so much more of your life to go through here. So at a certain point, I mean, you had experience building a Kentucky Fried Chicken, and then you ended up going back to Tennessee, right?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to get the thread of the story that you told me. You're in Tennessee and you have babies to feed, and you went to some guy and started selling drywall.
Yes.
And then you had some astounding sale of how many 6 million square feet of drywall or something?
Yeah, I sold.
That was amazing.
What's now called the Stouffer Hotel down on Commerce Street. It was a big high rise at that point, and I sold all the drywall materials for that building. 6 million square foot of drywall. It was the largest sale in the Southeast.
And you're 25 years old.
At that point. 26 probably.
Yeah, 25, 26.
Yeah.
And you sell this mega job. I mean, like huge. And that was a big turning point in your life because?
Well, I wasn't on commission, and I felt like that deserves a bonus and,
yes.
and a salary that was, equal to what I had just produced. And my boss said, no, I'm just giving you a little quarter an hour raise, and you get to have a company car, and there you go. And so I was working on weekends during that time. I worked there 6 months, and I was working every weekend as well to have Christmas and clothes and whatever we needed.
Pay for the family,
yeah,
right,
and
right.
so I realized I just, the only way I'm going to be able to feed this crew that I have now is to start a business, and I'll make lots of money because I'm so smart. I have a degree in economics, and nobody in construction has a degree in that. I'll do great. And it was very naive of me. I did not really understand how sophisticated some of the general contractors in the commercial world were. They were very good.
But weren't you like calling people incessantly, hey, I can help you, hey, I can do this, and you kind of made it up as you went?
Absolutely, I did.
Yes.
I made it my job. I had a few odds and ends things I was doing, but I made it my job that 3 days a week, 8 hours a day, I would do nothing but call. And back then, you wrote letters to people as well, so I would handwrite.
Yes,
You handwrote
it still
letters.
works today, handwriting, it does.
Yeah. So, a lot of that, a lot of handwriting, a lot of calling. There was a Nashville Scene or something magazine back then that had all the business stuff going on. I got that magazine every week. It was a weekly publication of what was going on in Nashville. And so anybody who was in that magazine, I called and got, tried to get a hold of. Tony Giarratano, who's one of the huge, successful, great developers here in town.
He has the big, super tall, the highest building in Nashville, right?
Yes, and so I got to see Tony Giarratano once, by
Yes.
sending him a letter, asking him, tell me what to do to have a business. I'm
Yes.
trying to do this, and tell me what to do. And so he agreed to see me. It was really funny. He said, I'll see you at 5 o'clock on whatever, Tuesday or whatever. So I go there at 5, and I don't know what he looks like, because I've never seen Tony Giarratano. And so I open the door, and there's this guy, can I help you? I'm here to see Tony Giarratano. He looks at me and says, he left at 4 o'clock. And I was like, well, how rude. He had an appointment with me at 5, are you sure? He started laughing. He was like, I'm Tony Giarratano.
Oh,
so
what a guy.
He gave me some homework assignments. I did them, sent them to him. He critiqued it for me. It was marketing material.
Okay.
Because I had nothing to market.
Oh.
And he's he knows how to market. Tony, he was really good then.
So he helped you for just because he wanted to?
Just that, yeah, that was our entire connection was that moment. And I never forget, over the weekend, he replied back to me and gave me his suggestions for my one-page slicker of marketing. And
wow, from such humble beginnings,
yeah.
and you getting in the doors to some of the most famous developers, and I bet you kept plugging and plugging and plugging till you got a few jobs, right?
A lot of no on the way to
Lots
yes.
of no's.
Yes,
Yeah.
I had a great experience with another company here in town, First Management, that helped me get started. Christy Houck of Christy Cookies was really my first where I could say I've done a commercial job here in
Yes.
Nashville. And I did a Christy's Cookies for him in Carmichael Place right across from Vanderbilt on West End. Manuel Zeitlin was the architect, which again, those were big names in Nashville. Yes. And to get a job that Manuel Zeitlin was the architect, and Christy Houck, which he was the, talk of the town, and Christy's Cookies. And so then we did, I don't even know how many more jobs for Christy.
Wow, and once you got your foot in the door, he saw that you did it.
Yeah.
And you were the general contractor. And did you have a company name then?
Yeah, I was called the Conseco Group.
Conseco.
Yeah, and I started out, I wanted to be the construction services company. And when I went to incorporate that name, somebody else already had it. I was in the lawyer's office, and he goes, well, you need a new name, and they charge by the hour. And so I was like, well, what about if you just take the CO out of construction, the SE out of service, the CO out of company, cram it all together? What does that say? He wrote it and it says Conseco. I said, great, that's our name, Conseco.
Okay.
So we were a Conseco group. Probably 10 years into owning that company, I got a letter from Conseco, who is a huge company. They have a Indy 500 race car they sponsor, and on and on and on, to cease and desist using that name. It turns out I was incorporated before they were, and I had the right to that name. But my attorney told me, however many dollars you've got, they've got one more. Let's see if we can get them to pay you for the name, and you trade names. And so I said, okay. But it never happened because they had bought all the refinance for mobile homes, and that went down, and they were about to go bankrupt.
Oh my!
And they were publicly traded company, and so it was a big deal. So they forgot about me. Conseco is now the Conseco Group. It still exists in Nashville now today as a general contracting firm.
And so you ended up having Conseco, and then sold that after 20 years, was it?
20 years, yes.
Okay, so from such humble beginnings, there you are, and then from that you learned about software, right?
Well, I didn't particularly learn about software. I learned
how to track everything, and we don't have as much time as I want on this program to go into the next phase of how did you turn these humble beginnings into multi-million-dollar company that you sold, and then had another multi-million-dollar company that you sold. So, and it's a fascinating story from working from Willie to this very successful, now retired executive entrepreneur who started out not really knowing what you were doing. And you're happy to say, I didn't quite know.
I did not know. I was very good at saying, I don't know, will you help me?
And asking for the help, and they understood how sincere you were, and you really were sincere, and you had babies and mouths to feed. And I feel that your whole upbringing was helping people. You said your mom always was helping people. There was other people at the table that were invited in because they needed a place to stay. And you were brought up with that kind of ambiance, a feel for that. And I think it worked for you for the rest of your life,
Well, I just felt like every person that were brought into my life was a thing that was bigger than me. It was about a God thing, whatever. It was
a God thing,
whatever
for sure.
that means to anybody. For me specifically, that means Jesus Christ is the center of all that. But I know that's a big word.
And the Creator. And so now I want to say thank you, and I want everybody to stay tuned for the next show. There's more that's going to be happening on Pat Whelan. Thank you.
All right. Howler timer.